Greetings, all three of you who are here waiting for the stream to start. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. We're going to have a lovely Saturday evening tonight. We're going to keep it really easy because I have not had the ability to prepare a topic tonight. I'm going to own that. That one's on me. I've had a lot going on, but that's all irrelevant, okay? We're on the show time. It's time to do some work. So, here's what we're going to do tonight. My usual co-hosts are unavailable. I've got one that's visiting family, another that's at work. I'm on my own. So, what we're going to try here is a feature that I've been kicking around in my head for a while. It's an idea where I want people during the audience participation segment to be able to call into the stream and talk with us directly. So all you really need for that is a Discord account and a microphone and a good internet connection, at which point you'll be able to join the link in the description. It is Brony Debates call-in Discord server. If you tell me in the stream chat what you want to talk about, and I think it's interesting, let me know what your name is on the Discord so I can give you the permission to join the on-air channel, at which point we'll be able to talk with each other on air for a couple of minutes. So if you want to test that, if you want to be a part of that, feel free. Just let me know what you would want to talk about in the chat and then join the server. So if you don't, what we're just going to do tonight is you feel free to ask me anything. The title says no stupid questions. Now then, what does that mean? Does that mean there are no stupid questions? Or does that mean I don't want you to ask me any stupid questions? We'll find out together. Ha ha ha. So, we're very grateful to everybody who supports the channel, especially on the $10 and up tier, such as Princess Heather Blossom, who I see is in the stream chat tonight. Welcome. There's also Shady Oak, Sid, Autoknight, Emerald, Senko, DJ, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy, Alden, EasyModeGamer, Kanto, Mr. Sonic, Alicia, Sniper, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willyzin, Icanus, Gruila, and Dark Malcontent, executive producer of Titan Art Studios. If you would like to get on the show, we'd love to have you. If you want to support, check out all the support links in the description. All that fun stuff. And most of my supporters make their own content that's pretty good as well. I highly recommend it. Now then, let's go through the chat here and see what we've got to work with. Trent saying I just joined. Let's see here. Paladin says, I guess I'll go first. Is there anything about your siblings that you miss? Okay, so that's a loaded question, and I'll tell you why. Because when you get down to it, I have two sets of siblings. Obviously, there's my real life biological siblings, and there's the siblings that you've seen on previous episodes of A Buck to the Face. Now, here's a little secret for you. The siblings that you've seen on previous episodes of A Buck to the Face are not my biological siblings. They were friends of mine, and to be honest, they're not friends of mine anymore. Okay, but they did design their ponisonas and then they asked me to be integrated into my show as characters. And then obviously when and you guys have seen Buck Wild before. Now he was a really good friend of mine for a long time. Him and I went way back, but as we got older, he just got more and more incapable of really making good decisions. And he got into some really bad habits that at every turn, I was bailing him out of some kind of trouble. And we were supposed to, work together and do all this stuff. And that would have helped both of us. That would have helped, get this channel, bigger than it is now. And I would do all this work, and oftentimes I had to invest a lot of money. And then it's just like, okay, I've done 90% for whatever reason, it varied. I can't do the rest of this by myself. So I need you to handle that. And then he wouldn't drop the ball. And then I'm out a lot of money. So between those two things, I had to break it off with him. And then there was Rose Capriccio, who, gosh, how do I say this? Just really turned out to not be a very good person. Like she's the type of person that would like help you with ulterior motivations. And, I think if you ask most of my other friends, they would say that I very rarely ask for help. And when I do, it's because I'm in a dire situation and that I do everything I can to repay it back as soon as I'm able. I think I've been pretty good about that now. But she would hold it over your head for forever. And, it got to a point where it couldn't, there wasn't a friendship anymore because there was just this constant expectation of what have you done for me lately? And, she would be yelling at me like a grown man, just yelling at me, when I have work to do in order to be able to help you with whatever it is you wanted me to do. And you're just, yelling at me for not doing this thing for you right now when I'm unable to because I have to work. So those were, they were my friends. Buck Wild was my friend a long time before the fandom, and then I had gotten him into the fandom. You see that story sort of play out in A Buck to the Face of Canterlot Wedding, and then we integrated his character really into it in what was it, the friendship games that we did. So, and then there's obviously my biological siblings, and that family dynamic is a lot larger. Now, let's see here. I'm in touch with my sister pretty well. So there's not much to miss about her because I don't miss her because we still talk on a pretty regular basis. And my younger brother, however, I have a biological older brother. And when things really went south in A Buck to the Face, like with a royal problem, that was based on a real story of what happened between my older brother and I. So that was sort of what got like, okay, I'm not safe here. I have to go back to Florida and be with my friends and try to get back on my own 2 feet here. There's not much I can say that I miss about my older brother because really, when I look back on what I can remember, I don't really have any good memories of him. And most of the stuff that I had that may have been a good memory in the moment gets sort of recontextualized of, oh, that was actually pretty abusive of him, wasn't it? And I probably shouldn't replicate that or try to be like that. But I will say that my older brother was, for all his faults and all, ultimately becoming a drug-addicted psychopath, there was a period in time in his life when, despite his sociopathy, that he was very smart and extremely talented in wrestling. This guy would manhandle state champions while they were state champion. The only reason my brother himself was not a wrestling state champion, a collegiate, was because he couldn't stay out of freaking jail. And then there's my younger brother who also had a prodigy level of talent for grappling. And he did really well when he was wrestling in high school. And he did really well when we were doing judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu together. And we did that together for about 3 years. And I do miss training with my younger brother. My younger brother is also probably one of the best guitarists ever. And I've said this before on streams, I'm fully aware of the hubris of that statement, but I do stand by it. And if I ever get a chance to prove that to you guys, I will. But yeah, extremely good at wrestling, extremely good at guitar. I'm not in touch. My younger brother and I are on good terms, but we're not really in touch all that much. We just don't talk that much. I do wish we could still train together, but he still lives with my parents, and they're getting older now, so they need some help taking care of them. So that's the really long answer to that first question there. All right, I see Emerald Logic just joined the Discord server in the description, so let me work my way down the chat here. I'll see what he wants to talk about, and if it's interesting, I'll give him the permission to join the voice channel here. Let's see. Half Random and Crazy Productions. What is your favorite cheese? Depends on the situation. Am I spreading it on crackers? Alouette. Am I making a burger? Swiss. Am I making a lasagna or a pasta? Mozzarella and Parmesan. Like there's different cheeses for different things. And man, I am making myself sound extremely white right now. Haha. Now then. Let's see here. Oh, I tried to scroll down a little bit on the chat, and it took me all the way to the bottom. Now I got to find where I was. Let's see here. Which show do you like, says Nathan. My favorite is Transformers. Okay, so I actually watched Transformers Armada when I was younger, and that's about the only Transformers that I watched. My parents say that I did like Beast Wars at one point in time, but that's before I can remember anything. My memory starts fading in when I'm like 12 or 13. That could be trauma suppression, or it could just be straight up head trauma, that I don't have a great memory of my childhood. But obviously Beast Wars was airing before I was 13. So they say I liked Beast Wars, but they didn't want me watching it. I had those kinds of Christian parents that just, were very, very adamant about the media I consumed, and that was something that turned out to be for the better in the long run. So other shows that I like, you guys have heard me talk a whole bunch about Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's right behind Friendship is Magic in terms of how much I like it. There's some scattering of animes that I liked, but the first ones that always come to mind are Gurren Lagann, Full Metal Panic, and Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop. Right now we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen and enjoying it a lot. So there's that. Dan Versus. I relate to Dan Versus a lot. That's a great show. I'm glad it ended when it did, though. They were getting dangerously close to running out of jokes, if that makes any sense. So then, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to scroll down the chat here and just read things as fast as I can. Just a heads up, guys, if I skip your question, it wasn't interesting. Try again. Okay. AJ Pearson says, what is your opinion on the Young Six from Friendship is Magic? They were some really interesting characters. I feel like we could have gotten a whole nother couple of seasons, maybe even some spin-off, maybe even a spin-off show off of them alone. Let's see here. Silver Quill is going to dox us for that one. So, let's see here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Doug's Film and TV. Would you like to talk about Equestria Girls and looking back 10 years later? That's... well, yeah, I could talk about Equestria Girls. There's a lot to talk about with Equestria Girls. It's a shame Pony Cordero isn't here anymore. He was more of a Equestria Girls fan than he was a Friendship is Magic fan. Let's see here. And that was something interesting about Equestria Girls. Like when we got Nick Confalone on, and I believe his first episode was the one that was, I'm having trouble remembering titles at this point, but it was the one where the Yaks came down to Ponyville and Pinky tried to be a diplomat for the first time and was trying to recreate everything that the Yaks would be familiar with, and they weren't having it. I did not like that episode the first few times I watched it. It grew on me over time, but I really didn't like it. episode gave us one of the worst lines in the whole show. That stupid, godforsaken quesadilla bit that meant nothing, led to nothing. That was just there to be done. I'm like, get this guy off the show. And then he goes over to Equestria Girls, and aside from the Rarijack shipping, did a really good freaking job. So that's that was interesting about something interesting about Equestria Girls there. Ariel Ballingue, but I'm very sorry if I mispronounce anyone's name, says, wow, you're awesome, dude. Thank you very much. I don't know what makes you think that. Let's see here. Is there anything Harriman says, a buck to the face deep lore. Two different versions of Buckwild, yes. So there are two different versions of that character, but they're sort of meshed into one character. Let's see here. Raptor of Rex 07. And I'm going to try to pronounce this word here. Bushite. Someone tell me how that's pronounced, please. It says, any writer's advice? I'm working on my first book. Okay. Here's what I do. I'm just going to tell you, like, the first step of my writing process is write down everything that comes to mind. I equate writing to forging a sword, where your rough draft, the first thing you write, it's everything. It's the whole giant billet of Tamahagane. Everything is there. At that point, you heat it up, you file it down, you hammer out the impurities, you draw it out, you polish it, and when you're done, you've got this really nice, shiny piece of art that's capable of changing lives. Am I talking about writing, or am I still talking about forging a sword? That's exactly the point there. So that's the only advice I can give you off the top of my head. Everything else, I would have to know more specifics about what you're trying to do. Now, I'll also self-plug you. I'll do a little bit of self-plug here for you. Part of my Patreon perks, specifically the $25 tier, that is, I believe we call it the advanced membership, but I do teach just about everything that I know well enough to be able to teach, which is writing, photography, fitness, karate, things like that. So if you want one-on-one help from me with your book, I would love to help you. That's $25 a month. All right, so MLP Unplug says, I'm ready to join the call. What do you want to talk about, MLP Unplug? Let's see here. Scrolling back down. Heather says, the Beast Wars was great. What could have been wrong with it? Well, Beast Wars was good, technically, story, things like that. My parents, they're the moral panic sort of parents. And it's not like I fully blame them either. It's just, but, they didn't really understand. They still don't. There was one day where I don't even blame them. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I'm watching Dragon Ball Z in the family room, and Goku's fighting Frieza, and for some God only knows what reason, Goku starts yelling, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Now that is a Jesus quote out of the Bible. Why is Goku calling himself Jesus, basically? And, that I didn't understand it at the moment, but I understand it now. What the heck? This guy is not Jesus. This actually qualifies as blasphemy in the Christian religion. So, yeah, I can understand why she'd be upset about that. Let's see here. What else do we got? Raptor says, my mother banned me from watching Ed, Edd n Eddy because my brother drank out of the milk carton. Okay. well, drinking out of a communal milk carton is pretty gosh darn gross. You're going to spread your germs all over the place. Now, your family, you're probably spreading each other's germs anyway, but at least try to have some decorum about it. My mother almost banned Ed, Edd n Eddy because, and I do remember Ed, Edd n Eddy being one of my favorite shows when I was younger. I can't watch it anymore. It's just, I don't know. It's not my type of thing anymore. But apparently it like made me sillier than I already was. And I started like acting like some of the characters on that show, and you can't really do that because they're not real people. Okay, Paladin Pony Tease. Oh, Seeker. I should handle that one first. Seeker says, I'm new here. Welcome, Seeker. Yes, I have never seen your name in the chat before, so I hope you're enjoying the show so far. It's not usually like this. Usually I have someone here to talk to about a specific topic, and we have fun like that. But, you know, hopefully you like me enough to stay viewing after tonight. What is your favorite MLP character? Okay. Main 6, I tend to lean towards either Twilight or Applejack. I really like the smarts. I really like the strength and the honesty. That those mean a lot to me. Those attributes. Rulers, I'm all about Princess Celestia. I literally shout her name like Leroy Jenkins if I'm about to do something stupid in my main series of Buck to the Face here. So, and then there's villains, and I am all about King Sombra. I love the way, I love what he represented in the Crystal Empire when he first showed up. Let's see here. Okay, so Raptor says Buckite. Okay, so Buckite. Yeah, that's easy enough to remember. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Let's see here. Paladin Pony T says, writing for me is like alchemy. You add a few ingredients at a time, you put the magic and stir it all together. Yeah, that's vague, but we can work with that. So, let's see here. How am I going to handle this, guys? Let me know in chat if what topic you want to come on voice and talk about. And let's preface it by saying topic for discussion. And then put, you know, what you want to talk about. Put what you want to talk about. And then put your Discord name. And then when you join the Discord server, I'll know who to give the permission to join the voice call. Let's see here. What is my favorite video that I've made? It is probably a moment with Brony, where I was working with, where it was, it's on Dr. Wolf's channel. It's called A Moment with Brony. It's basically all of those guys are arguing outside of my house. And the reason they happen to be outside of my house is because Brony lives next to a park in Ponyville, which is nearby Doc's office. And these guys are fighting so badly, like something's got them so miffed at each other that it was about to come to blows, and they probably would have destroyed Dr. Wolf's office, so he moves them all outside. But outside happens to be right next to my house. Brony gets disturbed by them arguing and goes out to investigate, and essentially takes over the therapy session, and nothing of value was learned that day. So then, let me see. What is my opinion on canon? That's an interesting one. I might need you to elaborate on the question a little bit more. Canon is the standard of what happened in the universe officially, according to, you know, the people who make the art, and the chronology and the timeline involved. That's my opinion on canon. That's really all. I can just give you a definition. I think it's let's see here. Chiban Yu, probably pronounced a little more smoothly like Chiban Yu. Hey Brony, My name is Brony, but yes, I am a Brony. It's been a while since I've seen your channel. It's good to see that you're in good health. Have you heard from any of the other Bronies? Not recently. I hung out with them a little bit at Everfree Northwest, and I really have not heard that much from them since. I could only speculate as to why. Let's not worry about it. It's kind of depressing. I miss my friends. Let's see here. Seeker says, I'm confused. Do you really dislike anime? I've heard conflicting things from you. By and large, yes. Anime is... I don't... There's very few anime that I like. But there's very few anything that I like. If I'm being totally honest, I am a little bit pretentious. I am very picky with what I watch, my media. I have very high standards for characters and voice acting and animation and story. And if it's not, you know, what I would say is good enough, then I don't waste my time on it. I'm very busy. I have 3 jobs. This is one of them. And I barely have time to do any of them. So when I do get some time, the last thing I want to do is waste it on a bad show. So that's why my standards are so high. But yeah, by and large, anime is not very good. But I could say the same about at least 90% of all the other shows and movies out there. So let's see here. Rusty says, curious, are you still in contact with Swift Yuki? She still into MLP or has she moved on? I remember her occasionally from your Tumblr comics. Oh, sweet God, I just realized I haven't been able to make a Tumblr comic in over a year. God, that sucker might just be dead at that point. So we are still in contact. I haven't talked with her in a while. I'm not sure what she's up to these days. I hope she's okay. But she is still around. I can reach out to her whenever I want. She's in my Patreon server. So you could add her. She's Northwind in there. And yeah, it's, you know, but she did get me into the show back in 2010. We were friends before that, but I can't remember where or how we met. And yeah, you know, I'm very grateful to her for getting me into the fandom. I owe this fandom my life with very little exaggeration. Let's see here. How's the next King Somber Ruins from Mayfair coming along, and what should I expect from future cons? I don't know what to expect from future conventions, but I am, I took a little time today to comb through the footage I took at Mayfair. I haven't really had much of a chance to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to be totally honest, I was not on my A game that day. So I don't think I have as much usable footage, but you know how I work. I'm only going to pull out the stuff that's good. I'm not going to give you guys a bad video. So when it's done, it's done. As for future conventions, I don't know what I'm doing. If the conventions want me there, then I'll go. If, you know, people want me there, I'll go. If my friends want me there, I'll go. At the moment, I don't really have plans to travel to conventions anymore. So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Heather Blossom listing out everything. Jujutsu Kaisen, Gurren Lagann, Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, the first season of Beastars, The Cat Returns. Yes, okay, so The Cat Returns. Heather and I watched that show, that movie, over Thanksgiving weekend, and I actually did enjoy that movie. It had a simple plot, but it had really interesting characters. It was fun to watch. Story was pretty solid, you know, especially you gotta hope it's solid, because if you got plot holes with a simple story, then you're just really bad at writing. But no, it didn't really have any problems with it. So I wouldn't say that I liked Dragon Ball, but I did grow up watching it, so I know a lot about it. And My Hero Academia, yeah, I forgot about that one. We are watching it. And yeah, we're enjoying it. It's not the best, but it's better than most anime of its type. Let's just hope they don't go crazy with the power scaling. And that's why and they're already kind of going too overboard with the power scaling, and that's what kills most anime. Once you start getting to planetary level threats, you lose me. You've broken my suspension of disbelief. So with that, I do believe I'm at the bottom of the chat. Honeydrop says, Brony, what would your quirk be if you lived in My Hero Academia? I would probably end up with something that turns me uglier than I already am, and at which point, that would be the bad ending. I mean, my show would pretty much just end right there, and all that implies. I cannot handle being any uglier than I already am. I already look like someone glued googly eyes onto a Sasquatch foot and then gave me the Hunchback of Notre Dame's posture. So I don't know what my quirk would be, but it would probably be something stupid. You got to remember that thing about that show is that most people have really stupid quirks that deform their bodies and mess with them and have all these drawbacks. And they got to train for years and years and years. If they're lucky and they get a quirk that's usable, they got to train it for years and years and years to make sure it's any good and actually usable and doesn't, blow themselves up when they try to use it. Half random and crazy productions and crippling depression. Yeah, that's my quirk. The quirk that I already have. Rusty says, for future debates, would you be open to revisiting older topics? If so, are there any particular... Okay, so here's the thing, is unless there's like a major update to my knowledge on any particular topic, I don't necessarily like revisiting old topics. It's not that I don't enjoy talking about them, but what I would like to avoid is this show becoming about just one thing. Like we've had a lot of topics talking about writing topics and art and media and things that I'm knowledgeable on. And usually, when you have one topic, it can beget more topics of a similar nature because, you only got an hour or so, sometimes two. We usually go over time a little bit to talk about these things, and sometimes not every question gets answered. I do believe there's other topics out there that I would like to talk about with that are of a more serious nature, but I haven't had those suggested to me, and I haven't found, and for those that I haven't really found the right people to talk with. So we'll see how the future of this show goes, and hopefully this we're trying to test run a feature of viewers like yourselves coming on the air with me and talking with me one-on-one here about whatever you want to talk about. We're going to try that later on in other shows, and hopefully that'll add something to the audience participation segment here. I see Emerald Logic asking me if I knew there was going to be a new Rift Rocket video. I don't even know what the Rift Rocket is. This is the first time I'm hearing about a concept called the Rift Rocket. So I don't know what to tell you. Much less that there was going to be a new video. So maybe I'll have to look that up. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. A lot of the Rift members, especially like the old ones, we're talking like the 2014 to like 2018 sort of era. A lot of them I don't think were very good at their jobs. A lot of them couldn't talk, write, act, edit. There was a couple of editors in the fandom that really did like 90% of the editing for most of the analysts that you ever watched. And they got fed up with working with those guys. And they sort of fell off. And it's unfortunate, but A lot of people got into analyzing My Little Pony because DigiBrony made it look easy. And DigiBrony made it look easy because DigiBrony didn't put any effort into anything. And when you don't put any effort into anything, and when you don't have any like second thoughts or really try to think about what you're doing, then yes, it looks easy. And he got a lot of views like that. So a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon and proceeded to do the easy thing with no effort. But none of the charisma. And of course, we had some outliers rise to the top. You know, obviously, I'm talking a lot of trash right now, and that doesn't apply across the board. A lot of the people that are still at it are still very good. And Silverquill is 100% the gold standard of the Brony analyst community. That man puts levels of effort into his videos that I couldn't dream of. He can kick the crap out of me in editing, and he does way better research. Now, granted, After the Fact and A Buck to the Face are two very different shows. A Buck to the Face is telling a story. After the Fact goes into the deep lore, and it is always super interesting to listen to. But that takes effort. Silverquill spends weeks researching things, up into emailing professors who have the expertise in their field directly to say, hey, tell me the latest and greatest knowledge on this topic for my video, please and thank you. I wouldn't even know where to start on how to do that. So, I don't know what the Rift Rocket is. Hopefully it's good. Because a lot of the stuff they tried to make that involved the Rift in the past was not very good. Unless I was in it. And I know that sounds pompous, but well, there's a few things that I was in that I'm not that you know didn't turn out as good. But for the most part, things like if somebody was like, "Hey, Brony, do you want to be in this thing?" I was like, "Okay, send me the script," and I would look over the script and say, "Okay, yeah, you know, if that's a good script, I like that. Let me get in." And at which point, not only am I in, I'm going to do everything I can to help. Let's see what else we got here. I haven't had a chance to look at the thing. So we, Raptor says, I'm part of the Bionicle fandom, and they are so obsessed with canon that one of the writers was basically the Pope of canon. He came up with canon, with canon stuff that lots of the fans dislike. Okay, I don't know anything about Bionicle. So that's interesting. Honeydrop says, my quirk would be Shadow Blade, where you can create a sword out of shadows. That sounds cool. Hopefully it doesn't turn me into the Hawkhead dude. I forget his name. Is that Todoroki? Or is it Tokuyama or something like that? The guy with a raven for a head, and then the rest of his body is just a normal body. He's got the Dark Shadow quirk. Basically, I don't want anything that deforms me from looking just like a normal human. I don't know. I couldn't imagine being able to live with that. Nathan says, Brony, when I was watching that moment with Brony video and you and your friends, I wanted to defend them against you to prevent them from getting hurt. There is no defense. I was in discipline mode. I was in teacher mode. They needed to learn a harsh lesson. And it worked. And it backfired. And I got my own just comeuppance, right? But that's how things work. Cool Vanity 81714. I wonder of the significance of those numbers. Anyway, that's a new name. Welcome to the chat. I've never seen you before. I hope you are enjoying the show, and I hope you stick around. Before late season 8, in the season of the main 6, and season of which the main 6 and or Royal Sisters would be Christian if the show had Christianity. Okay. Your sentence structure is really weird. So let me see if I can figure out what you're trying to ask me. Before late season 9 is the correction that you made. which of the main 6 would be Christian if the show had Christianity? All of them. That's what I'm going to say, all of them. Because all of those morals, well, not all of them, but most of them, especially all the good ones, were actually, they have their roots in biblical lessons. And if you guys watch Moral of the Story, which I got to finish the next Moral of the Story video. I've been chipping away at it for months, gosh darn. If you watch Moral of the Story, you can, I keep things as generic as possible to make sure that they apply to everybody, because I do believe that morality is universally applicable. Those analyses come from biblical roots. So a lot of the morals that we really exhibit in not just Friendship is Magic, but most of society in general, and I'm not even just talking about Western society, like if you get down to it, societies and cultures around the world have very similar roots in their morality, and they all tie back to things we find in Christianity. So yes, all of them would be Christian. Elizabeth Osborne says, I'm eating pizza. Does anybody want pizza? I have Honolulu, Hawaii, Supreme, Pizza, and barbecue pineapple. Okay, please hook me up with a slice or 2 of Supreme. Right before I got on here, and you might, be able to hear it in my voice a little bit. I'm a little more nasally than usual tonight. But right before I got on here, I made some udon stew with ham in it. And it was very warm. And it sort of clogged up my sinuses a little bit. In fact, pardon me for just a second. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble breathing through my nose because of the soup was really warm. But yeah, had some udon, but I do love me some pizza. I don't want anything with pineapple on it, though. I am against pineapple on pizza. I've had it before. It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but I wouldn't order it for myself. And the only reason I had it before is because I was literally starving. I hadn't eaten anything for at least 30 hours, probably going on 36 hours, like a day and a half. I was hungry, and it was there, and it would have been thrown out if I hadn't taken it. So I took it and I ate it. Maybe it tasted good because I was so hungry. Let's see here. MLP Unplugged says, I like swords. The swords from Adventure Time. I don't know anything about Adventure Time. So, okay. So Seeker, are we allowing Discord members to talk on air or another time? Okay. So here's, I'll say it again. Here's how we're going to have that work. If you want to come on the show and talk with me one-on-one, here's what I want you to do is in the chat, say topic for discussion, and then say what you want to talk about, and then tell me your Discord name. And I do see you, Seeker, in the server, and you're in there. So tell me that you want to talk. So topic for discussion and what you want to talk about. If I think it's interesting to pull a conversation out of it, I will give you the permissions in the Discord server to join the voice channel with me. At which point we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Let's see here. Oh, Todoroki, I think, is the Zuko ripoff. Oh, yeah, that's the guy that has fire and ice powers. Let's see. Half Random and Crazy says, Quirk, crippling depression. Hero, Brawny Buck. Quirk, turns details turn person into small equine and looks cartoonish. Person will start out as a Pegasus but will have a bad event and break off the wings. Oh geez, that's just mean, sir. I wouldn't wish what I've got on anybody. Let's see here. Favorite fairy tale and why? Mine is Beauty and the Beast. I don't think I know enough about fairy tales to be able to answer that question very well. So sorry about that, Paladin. Let's see here. Okay, so MLP Unplug is Emerald Logic. That's good to know. but I still don't know what you want to talk about. We got about 15 minutes, guys. So yeah, hit me with the hard stuff. I like talking about anything. I know a lot about writing, media, things like that. How the business. I know a little bit about how the business and industry work. I worked in it for a while. I know a lot about fitness. I know a lot about martial arts. I know a lot about politics. I follow politics pretty closely. I do believe that that is an important thing to do. I try to stay as educated as possible on really all of the issues. And I love talking about them from a perspective of problem solving. I do not really play the party game. I believe that turns people really clannish and ends up really defeating the purpose of being able to solve the problems. And I do believe there's a lot of common ground between the parties that we sort of ignore. And one of my goals with Brony Debates is to sort of bridge that divide and help people understand each other better. Because if longtime listeners of the show will know that sometimes we have controversial topics. We get people on. And we're sitting on the opposite ends of things. And very rarely do minds get changed. But at the end of the show, everybody's learned something. So we come away with a better understanding. We come away with a wider worldview. And maybe we have taken some steps to discussing how to solve whatever the problem may be. And nothing's going to get changed overnight. And you shouldn't expect to change anybody's mind when you're talking about something. But if you can understand each other a little bit better, that's going to go a long way to creating peace. Because I absolutely hate the way political discourse has been. It's ramped up to tensions that we haven't seen since the Civil War, since the American Civil War. I'd say since 2016, it was just something about Donald Trump just made everybody go insane. But it was building up before that for a long time. If we're being really honest and educated with each other, I want to have hope that people of differing opinions can still be civil with each other and be friends, and find common ground and find peace and learn to help each other rather than hate each other. So yeah, I hate the way things have been, and I'm trying to change it. And I hope that you guys will help me change it. There's a lot of political opinions I have, and I feel like I know a lot about them, but I try to be open-minded. I always ask myself the question, could I be wrong? Well, the answer to that is if I'm wrong, there should be someone out there who can prove me wrong. And I want to have those conversations without getting emotional, without any accusations. I just want to solve the problem. So even if I am wrong about something, show me what you know. Change my mind, and I will work with you on it. I would love that. There's nothing I like better than being proven wrong, because usually when I get proven wrong, it means things are not worst case scenario, and there is hope for solving the problem. So, Rusty says, have you seen Elon Musk's latest bombshell? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't follow Elon Musk. I don't give a frick what that guy does. I'm glad he bought Twitter. It got a little bit better since he did so, but not by much. It's still pretty bad over there. The only reason I use it is because it's the best way to interact with fans directly outside of, emailing me, which you're all welcome to do anyway if you want. So let's see here. Seeker says, topic for discussion. No member of the main six is inherently better or worse than the other. Okay. The problem with that suggestion is I agree. So I don't know how we're going to pull much of a discussion out of it. But give me a couple of minutes, and I will give you permissions to join the voice channel, and I would hear what you would like to say about it. Raptor says, I wish we would stop treating political parties like football teams. That's the analogy I use a lot. Let's see here. Paladin Pony says, does that mean you think there's going to be another civil war? Listen, it's not impossible. It's bad out there. Especially the way the last couple of elections have gone. Like, we didn't really have riots at elections until 2016. That's not a good sign. So I really hope things start turning around really soon here, but we're going to need to work together and preach peace and preach understanding and being there for each other despite our differences in order for that to work. Which means we're going to really need to shift the culture. And that should start in the Brony fandom. I've actually been getting persecuted pretty well for my political beliefs lately. And it's cost me opportunities. And, you know, I can gripe about losing the opportunities. It sucks. But it'll happen to other people too. And we do not want to get into a purity spiral where, you know, it gets to a point where there's thought police out there. And because it becomes, purity spirals make it impossible for anybody to have anything. One person's going to rise as a leader, and anybody that disagrees with anything he says, or even just thinks differently in some way, it doesn't even need to be a full-on disagreement, they're going to get turned into a pariah, and that's the death of communities. I owe this fandom my life, and I wanted to see it go on for a long time, and I want it to be the best that it can be. So I don't want that to happen. Let's see here. I'm going to turn it over to Seeker. So Seeker, if you look in the Discord server, you should see that you now have an on-air privilege, which means you should be able to join the voice chat, and we can talk a little bit about your opinions. So let's take a look here. What do we got in the meantime? Let's see here. Rusty says, where do you like to debate or talk about politics? Okay, so Rusty, you're in my Patreon Discord server. Symposium. If you want to talk about religion, philosophy, or politics, go to Symposium. Tell us what you think. So that's where we discuss there. If I'm being totally real, Symposium right now is a conservative echo chamber, and I do not like that about that. And we've just had Seeker join us. Welcome, Seeker. Thank you for joining. You are the first person to help me test out this new feature on my show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very good. Very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Seeker.
Well, I love art and stories. I want to spread great art and stories with the world around me. And I first encountered you when I saw you in Cell Specs' Brony's React to the Season 6 finale.
Yeah. We were supposed to do more of those. The next one was being planned like right after I moved to Florida, and I got so busy. Everybody just happened to get so busy we weren't really able to do some writing, and after a while the project just sort of fell off. Cell Specs disappeared for a lot of us, which is unfortunate. She's a great person. Anyway, so you were saying that your topic of discussion is none of the main six are inherently better than others. I agree. So there's probably not much of a discussion there, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. So go ahead and take the floor.
Yeah, I intentionally made it vague in the hopes of catching your attention because when I mean better than the other, I mean specifically in how they're written and their arcs across the show, because I see the sentiment that, people say, oh, some characters are objectively better than the other because they've had more good episodes, or they've had a lot of bad episodes, or they never learned their lesson, or whatever. And, it's fun to rank and compare people's favorites and everything, but I also feel that doing that gives a real disservice to what Lauren Faust came up with. And granted, I have this perspective from seeing a lot of fan content, but I just feel that each member at the base level is so well constructed, and their dynamic is so well portrayed to the audience that even if some members have a lot of bad episodes, they still have a, how do I put this? They're still a good character. And I also feel that a lot of people say, oh, the X character never learns anything, or X character has a lot of problems or whatever. I feel like it's kind of over exaggerated or being too overly analytical. Looking at it from episode to episode, you can get really nitpicky. And maybe this is just me, but I feel that I just feel that it's such a solid group, and we shouldn't discredit any one of them, even Rainbow Dash or Pinkie Pie or any character you feel has like the worst showing across all 9 seasons.
Very good. Yeah, I would like to add on to what you're saying here, because I do hear that type of thing a lot, that certain characters don't learn, or they have the same episode over and over again. So I really tackled this in 2 videos of mine. One they're both kind of old at this point, but I stand by them. One of them is Brony Debates Characterization, that talks about how to analyze the subtleties of how characters go through different arcs, about how characters are, by nature likely to run into similar problems, but how each episode will still tackle a different aspect of that problem or a different aspect of that character's arc. So even if it looks similar on the surface, it's really not. I also talked in that video about how to analyze the different aspects of people's personalities. So when people get when characters get the critique of, in this instance, this character was out of character. Well, were they? Were they really? And that's the ultimate question there, is were they really? Because people are pretty complicated, and even a slight change in circumstances will change people's attitudes towards something and the decisions that they make. In moral of the story, in my video, moral of the story, Fluttershy leans in, which is pretty universally understood as the end of Fluttershy's arc. I broke down specifically for Fluttershy how people keep saying, oh, she learned the same lesson over and over again. All of her episodes were the same, and I broke that down. Well, of course, this is her character flaw. This is what she needs to work on. So she's going to run into similar problems and learn similar lessons, but each one had a unique spin. And we can see as time went on, she gradually got better until we got up to the point of Fluttershy leans in. So, is there anything you would like to add or take away from that?
Well, I think it's interesting that you brought up out of character, because that's something I used to think about a lot, especially with this show, because Brony analysts love to bring that up, especially 2014 to 2015.
Yeah.
I do think there are a few specific instances, and notably bad episodes, where you can say a character was out of character, but only because you can contrast it with them acting the polar opposite, to the point where you can't really say, oh, it's nuance, or characters being complicated. No, it's just, it feels forced. One example, that would be when Pinkie Pie knew that pranking Fluttershy would hurt her feelings, and you contrast that with Pinkie Pie causing Fluttershy to cry in Philly Vanilli. That's just one example that came to my mind, but you know what I mean?
Well, even then, I would say those are 2 different scenarios here. What she did in Philly Vanilli wasn't a prank. Pinkie thought she was explaining the situation and, had a lapse in social awareness, but she wasn't pranking Fluttershy, so she didn't have that thought of, when it came to pranking Fluttershy in season 1, she was like, Pinky was like, oh, we can't do that with her. She's too shy. She's too timid, especially at this point in the series. It would really hurt her feelings. And that is a completely different set of actions from what she was doing in Philly Vanilli, where it's like, oh, and if anything, Pinky was going, oh, it must have been horrible for you. Pinky was trying to be sympathetic in Philly Vanilli and just failed miserably, which everybody does at one point in time or another. Shoot, I've done it twice this week, and I'm old enough to know the difference. People make mistakes. It happens, but and really all you can do is hope for forgiveness at the end of it, because if there's no forgiveness, then society crumbles because everybody makes mistakes all the time, regardless of experience level. So if you can't forgive other people, you're not going to be able to live with other people. You're just gonna be by yourself in a very short while. But thank you for coming on the show. I'm gonna disconnect you for now and give somebody else the floor. So thanks again for coming on. Have a wonderful night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Alrighty then, so I'm going to take that away, and I did see Harriman wanted to come on and share some thoughts with us. So Harriman, feel free to join the voice chat whenever you're ready. In the meantime, let's walk down the chat here a little bit. MLP Unplugged wants to know what my favorite part of the MLP movie was. Open Up Your Eyes. And the climax fight scene, those were really good. I loved any scene that had Fizzlepop Berry Twist in it. Holy crap, that girl can kick some butt. And that is exactly my type of thing. I love girls that can kick butt. What a heck of a time for Harriman to join the call. Harriman, how are you doing tonight, sir? Harriman does not have his microphone ready. So, let's see here. Half Random and Crazy Production says, a topic for discussion, VivziePop going from a YouTube show to a TV show. Now, that's something interesting to talk about, and I do believe you are in the...
I have a cold.
There you are, Harriman. So, yes, Half Random and Crazy Productions. I know who you are in the Discord server. We'll get to you in a minute. Harriman, can you hear me, sir? Harriman cannot hear me. Okay, we're going to move on then. So, let's see here. Going to disconnect Harriman. We're going to move the role over to Spartan Cardboard. I should probably get an assistant or an admin to help me with this, because doing it by myself is kind of slow. Now, let's see here. Alrighty then, Half Random and Crazy Production joining us tonight. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty well.
Very good. Now, you've been on the show before, so tell us what you're talking about here.
I'm talking about how a YouTube person came out with a show idea, and it actually made it to production.
Yeah, okay, so give us your thoughts.
I'm quite interested in the fact they've made it. Like, it comes out in January. It is very soon. I'm impressed that somebody went, hey, this YouTuber has a good idea for a show. Let's get on to let's do it. And everyone agreed.
Indeed. So, I do think that's cool. However, I do have a little bit of an issue with it, right? Because I think that VivziePop works a lot better within the YouTube scene. And once you cross over into the YouTube scene, I don't know what YouTubers' obsession is with going mainstream or getting off of YouTube or getting on TV. The whole appeal of YouTube is that it wasn't Netflix and that it wasn't the crap that we see on television, and thus wasn't subjected to all the stupid rules and the corporate control that all that was. And as soon as she crossed over, she started having all of those same problems. Now we got to get rid of all of our crew that had been loyal to the project up until now, because they're not in the business, they're not in the union, and we got to, waste all this money on high level voice talent and established voice talent rather than giving new voice talent a try. I think it should have stayed on YouTube. I think there's just as much of a living to be made in being purely independent. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but I think Hell of a Boss is just fine staying on YouTube. I don't see any reason that what's the new show, Has Been Hotel, needed to scrap its whole crew for a Netflix release. I would have just kept the people that were loyal to me and made it work. And it was working. I mean, she was doing good and had a huge established fandom even before she got a deal with Netflix. So while it is cool and I applaud the accomplishment, I simply don't think it was necessary. Is there anything you'd like to add or take away from that?
First off, Amazon, not Netflix. So
okay, thank you.
Big difference there.
Thank you for the correction.
A lot of those people are part of the acting industry anyways, because Moxie in Hell of a Boss was in Has Been Hotel. I don't remember who he was, but that is Zim from Invader Zim.
Yes.
So he's already knows about the whole acting industry. We actually don't know how the new show's going to be because it hasn't dropped yet. So we're all still in the air. Did they stick with the original score, or is it something completely different?
Okay. So yeah, there's we'll see how good it is. I just personally, if it had been me in Vivzy Pop's position, I would have kept my crew. And it's like, okay, Amazon, if you want to give me all this money, I'll take all this money. If you think it's an investment, here's the thing. I'm keeping my people. I'm keeping my rights to the show, my rights to the characters and their designs. I'm keeping all this stuff about me. You are buying my show. You are investing in my show, which is run by me. If you want to have any control over it, no, you don't get to have any control over it, okay? So you're gonna buy this product as it is, or we're not gonna sell it, because I'm working just fine on my own without you. I'll take your money, and I'll give you a cut of the profits if you think it can help reach a bigger audience and make more money under your distribution. But I'm not changing a gosh darn thing. That's just how I would have handled it in Vivzy Pop's situation. Especially if I already had such a big, dedicated, and well-established fandom before going in. You're buying that fandom. You're investing in that fandom. Yes. So, and it just kind of, when you trade up like that, it sort of looks like it's like, oh, I need to do this in order to be legitimate. You don't need to do this in order to be legitimate. You were perfectly legitimate before you went to Amazon. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the situation. But thanks for coming on the show and explaining that to me. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Alrighty then. So let me see here. There we go. Do we have anything else in the chat we're just about at time here. In fact, we're a little over time. So we're gonna scroll through the last bit of chat here and see what's up. Clayton Hess says, I just got here. Have you discussed Iron Will yet? I have a theory about him. No, we have not discussed Iron Will yet. So I would love to hear your Iron Will theory. Honey Drop the Unicorn says, Brony, you would like Spy X Family. I've been meaning to check that out. We'll see. Let's see here. I have not yet reviewed the MLP movie. I have a plan. It's part of the story. Oh man, I'm going to try to say this without getting mad. A Buck to the Face should have been wrapped several years ago. But I can't put full-time effort into this because I don't make enough money from YouTube yet. So that's why I'm constantly pushing for everybody to get on my Patreon so I can get the if I can get to a point where I can dedicate this full time, all this stuff will be done so fast. And yes, the movie would have been out by now and it would have been really good and I would have moved on to something else if not just retired from YouTube. But we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. What else do we got? What do you think of, Nathan says, Brony, what do you think of anime in English? Depends on how good the voice acting and the translation is. Sometimes I don't want to have to read, but for the most part, I do end up wondering what the frick the dubbers changed, because they've been in a really bad habit about that lately, with just changing things that they don't like and messing with characters and messing with stories. And not just lately. It's become more noticeable lately, but they've been doing that for a long time too. I mean, anything by 4Kids. Shoot, the Street Fighter movie from, when was that movie made? Like 1993 through 5, somewhere in that range. Right? Completely different movie in Japanese as opposed to English. English, the story makes no sense because they change so much of the characters and the lines. In Japanese, you get where you're reading the subs. I'm actually trying to learn Japanese passively on the side. Here, you get a more accurate translation, and the story makes a lot more sense because they didn't change stupid stuff for no reason. What do I think of G5? I don't like it. I've watched a little bit of it. I didn't like it. I haven't watched. I know that Spike is in the new G5 stuff. I haven't watched it. Probably not going to. And, that's about it. Paladin Pony T wants to know what my favorite Christmas memory is. Okay, so I feel like I've told this story before. But there's a few new viewers in the audience, so I'll tell it again. In 2007, after everybody had gone to sleep, I snuck back down with my presents, and I had labeled them as from Santa, right? So imagine, your parents, they set up all the presents, right? And then they go to bed, and then they wake up, and there's just a ton more presents under the tree. And they're all labeled from Santa. And while I was doing that, I took my stocking, and I took my two brothers' stockings. I took them and I hid them, right? And I replaced them with tiny stockings that were filled with actual coal. So, and everybody woke up the next morning. My parents were like, wait a second, something isn't right here. First of all, it took them like a half hour to notice that 3 of the stockings were missing. And then they were like, wait a second, something isn't right here. We've got your sister's stocking. Where's all the stockings for the boys? And I'm like, frick, I thought it looked different in here. What's up with that? So, my younger brother comes down and he's like, where's my stocking? He starts freaking out. Where's my stocking? Looking everywhere for his stocking. He actually looks where I hid the stockings, but he didn't see them because they were under a blanket. And he didn't pick up. If he had picked up the blanket right there, the whole act would have been up, right? The problem would have been solved, right? But he can't find the stockings. And he's running around going, I shouldn't have to look for my stocking. This isn't Easter. Give me my Christmas candy, right? He's flipping out. My older brother finally comes down the stairs, just waking up. We've all been up for hours. We got to wait for him. But if you wake him up, there's going to be a freaking problem. So you just let the older brother sleep until he wakes up on his own. He comes down the stairs, and of course, he's been the troublemaker his whole life. Everybody thinks it's him. They go, hey, Buck, what did you do with the stockings? He's just, I didn't do anything with the freaking stockings. And he slams the door behind him because he's got to go out and have his morning cigarette before he can interact with anybody. And then he comes back in. And at this point, they've wanted to the stockings have been missing for like 45 minutes at this point. My younger brother is still flipping out. My older brother comes in and they're like, seriously, where are the stockings? He's like, I didn't touch the stockings, the frick. And tensions are starting to rise. And I start giggling. And I totally lose my poker face. And everybody looks at me and goes, it was Brony! Brony, where are the frickin' stockings? I'm like, I didn't do anything with the stockings. Y'all were bad this year. We all were bad this year and got coal. I mean, shoot, you don't hear me complaining. I got coal. They're like, give it up. Where are the frickin' stockings? You're laughing your butt off. We know it's you. And I'm like, ah. So at that point, the joke had run its course. I opened the drawer that my younger brother had opened up, and I moved a blanket, and he goes, what the frick? And that was and I gave everybody their stockings, and my younger brother, he grabs his stocking and he like stomps over to the couch and sits down and goes, and he says again, this isn't Easter. I shouldn't have to hunt for my freaking candy. So that's how that worked. Prayer Warrior 4 says favorite Christmas movie. Rod Stewart's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Jim Carrey with Jim Carrey. Let's see here. So let's see what else we got. Rusty says, curious, when you get enough patron money, will you still teach martial arts? Yes, it will actually be a part of it. So right now I'm working on setting up I do run a karate school outside of my regular job and outside of YouTube, and right now I'm working on setting up a YouTube channel for the karate school, so stay tuned for that announcement when I finally get some content on that freaking thing. But yeah, that's another one of the options on the Patreon, is you can sign up for online karate classes. But I'm really hoping to get a whole lot of in-person students. I want like 100. So, placeholder says, can long distance or online relationships work? I am living proof that they can. However, it is extremely rare, and I would not recommend anybody do what I do. My life is crazy and I do crazy things. Don't be like me. Nathan says, Brony, who's your favorite McDonald's character? None of them. I hate them all. They're creepy. McDonald's gives you cancer. Go outside and get some exercise instead. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this stream. So thank you to Seeker and Harriman. Well, Harriman wasn't able to join after all, but thank you to Seeker and Half Random Crazy Productions for coming on and telling us your thoughts tonight. I'm hoping to integrate the live caller function into the audience participation segment a little bit more, so we'll see how that goes in future debates. In the meantime, please keep those topic suggestions coming, and even suggest for me to people to debate with, and I will reach out to them and see if they're willing to come onto my show. We are trying to bridge the gap between people here, so let's make it good. Anyway, thanks everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much for your questions. I hope you enjoyed the show. If it's your first time, I hope to see you again in the future. In a few minutes, in about a little over a half hour, I'm going to hang out with Princess Heather Blossom while she does some crocheting. Her channel link is in the description under the supporters as well. I hope to see you all there. So then, we're very grateful to everybody who supports, especially the $10 and up tier, such as Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak, Sid, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy, Alden, EasyModeGamer, Kanto, Mr. Sonic, Alicia, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willyzin, Icanus, Gruila, and Dark Malcontent, executive producer of Titan Art Studios. Check out all their links in the description, as well as how you can support the channel, what you get in return. I think a Brawny Buck t-shirt would make a great Christmas present for either yourself or someone, the special Brony in your life. So yeah, spread the good word. Let's get more people watching. We'll have some more fun just like tonight. Stay safe, God bless, and have a wonderful night, everybody.